Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. And welcome back to the podcast. And yes, it is FOMO Friday. Yeah, we love to dispense of your fear of missing out because you are not listening to propaganda media anymore. So what do you want to do? You want to know what's going on around you. And so here's where we come in. We bring you some stories of the week that you may or may not have heard. And, you know, we want to know that's what's going on around you. You probably need to know a little bit about these things. So let's jump right into it. From Fox News, actually, and last night, Trump releases declassified election intelligence. Yeah. President Trump addressed the nation Thursday evening on free and fair elections, announcing the declassification of critical intelligence that reveals, as he said, shocking vulnerabilities related to hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Quote, this viral information is for many years been covered up and hidden from you, Trump said. The American people are beautiful, are great American people, but that all changes right now. Yeah. Documents were posted to the White House website during the president's speech, and the speech came as his administration has aggressively pushed policies, legislation, and executive orders to secure U.S. elections. Quote, the documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with the staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, supported by our top intelligence agency chiefs who have all personally reviewed the findings we are presenting this evening and fully confirmed their authenticity. So, leading up to the address, Trump teased that his speech would be big news, and Trump touted his new Trump accounts and spoke about how his administration has lowered drug prices, reduced crime, and strengthened the border, with the main focus on securing American elections. Now, the White House released 4 sections of documents focused on alleging vulnerabilities in election voting and ballot counting systems, China's acquisition of exploitation of American voter data, Michigan voter registration investigation, and non-citizens on state voter rolls. Trump said China obtained information about American voters such as names, addresses, phone numbers, political affiliations, and other personal information to form a dedicated unit to exploit the voter data it had acquired. Now, reports from the CIA and National Security Agency about China's interference were kept out of Trump's almost daily presidential briefings, is what Trump claimed. Trump also said Congress also was not notified. Quote, one email among intelligence analysts admitted that they had, quote, deliberately messaged the presidential daily briefings to withhold information regarding Chinese activities related to the election. That's what Trump said. Now, Trump called on the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to launch an investigation and, if appropriate, fire and press criminal charges against those involved. So, yeah, a lot of some, big things coming out of that speech, and we'll see how all that comes down and how the information that's being released gets sorted out. Well, big news this week as well when it came to the death of Lindsey Graham. And you probably know Lindsey Graham. He's been a long-time senator, kind of a surprise type of thing. And there was some kind of mixed reaction, I guess you could say, to that. And so I thought this opinion piece by Zach Stark really captured it well when he said that Senator Lindsey Graham passed away a few days ago from an aortic dissection. He was 71. The public reaction to his death echoes that of Charlie Kirk's last year. There's certainly been a heartening display of sympathy from most of the right and much of the prominent left, praising his character and principles, if not his politics. There are also, however, the dregs of society who have dedicated the past few days of their lives toward doing what they do best, spreading misery and hatred. Graham was a fighter his whole life. After the tragic death of his mother, Graham put himself and his younger sister through college with an ROTC scholarship and later an Air Force salary. He served his country proudly for decades before turning to politics. And it's time this country returned the favor and protected his legacy from the barrage of disrespect. In the Senate, he stood up for the West on every front. He was an unequivocal advocate for Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine in the halls of Congress, despite immense political pressure from both sides of the aisle. And he died only hours after returning from a trip to Ukraine to secure a bipartisan Russian sanctions package. He was a powerful voice against the authoritarianism and terrorism across the globe. And he crusaded against the smear campaign on Justice Kavanaugh and regularly called out the hypocrisy of the left. He was a steadfast voice for our country's most foundational values, and Graham was also known for his political 180 from a hardline Trump critic to one of the fiery supporters. Some of his critics will have you believe that this is spinelessness or something, but they're wrong. When exactly did it become spineless to admit your mistakes? And Graham observed the administration's actions and adjusted his judgment accordingly. Is that not the humility that we should look for in a representative? He was a great man. Even those who disagreed with his politics ought to express condolences. The contemptible reactions fit squarely into the same two camps. There are the ghouls who celebrate his death as great news, and the ghouls who try to use it to their own ends. In the words of Mr. Graham himself, only days before he died, "Judge me by my enemies." Whenever you call out someone for celebrating political violence, you're bound to get the usual protests. Quote, "But what if it were Hitler or Sinwar? Then it would be okay to celebrate his death." True. Here's a little newsflash. People, it isn't Hitler or Sinwar. It's a truly decent man and one of the greatest statesmen of the country. It's okay to celebrate the death of, vile, massive murderers. It's not okay to celebrate the death of senators who didn't vote the way that you wanted. Usually the latter comes in the form of conspiracy theories. Iran does not have the capacity to silently or subtly assassinate a sitting United States senator. Furthermore, Graham devoted much of his life to combating the Iranian threat. If there were any credible chance that they really had assassinated him, it would be the public focus of his family, the president, and a few channels just slightly more official than the legion on online trolls. The same goes for the Russians. It wasn't the Jews either. If anyone hasn't seen Candace in the past few days, it's probably because she's working out how the Mossad killed off Israel's greatest ally in Congress. He was about to turn on Israel any minute now. And guys, she has the sources. No, Lindsey Graham was not assassinated. He died a tragic but natural death. And equally detestable are those mainstream political operatives who would use his passing for political angling. The Atlantic's Anne Applebaum, in her usual tastelessness, did not express any condolences for Graham or his family. Instead, she used his death as an opportunity to promote a recycled hit piece on him entitled "History Will Judge the complicit." Well, history will judge Lindsey Graham for the hero that he was, Miss Applebaum. You, on the other hand, will be forgotten altogether with the rest of the soulless vultures who have no regard for human life. Lindsey Graham is dead. Decent people everywhere mourn him. There's one less great man in Congress and one less fighter for the West. May God bless him, his family, and all that he stood for. That is all there is to say. And so, like I say, I thought that really summed things up well, addressing the conspiracy theories about how he died and all that. But all in all, I mean, he was one of the big hawks, obviously, of Congress, and he did a great job. He will be missed. Well, from a series of articles from the Daily Wire comes this next story, and it's just weird, okay? A gay couple is suing a single mother for an estimated $600,000 because she refused to abort after potential minor birth defects were discovered by ultrasound. Yeah. A surrogate in Canada says a gay couple told her to abort the baby she was carrying, which was created using a donor egg and one of the men's sperm. At nearly 6 months pregnant is when this took place, over a possible cleft palate and a potential minor heart issue. Well, a lawsuit obtained by the National Post says the couple is suing the woman for causing them emotional distress and not keeping them informed in a timely manner. Well, after the woman, who is not being named, by the way, refused to kill the child, the couple allegedly stiffed her on reimbursement for pregnancy-related expenses and lost income and other costs, which were supposed to be paid per their agreement. And when the woman tried to take them to small claims court to try to get the $10,000 that they owed her, the couple hit her with an estimated $600,000 lawsuit. Quote, "I know I'm a single mom. You know I have a daughter, and you're basically suing me for my house? Seems very poopy. It's just awful," the woman said. "I just feel used. They didn't get the perfect child they wanted, and they threw me away." Well, in Canada, women are not paid enormous sums for surrogacy as they are in America. Instead, they're only allowed reimbursement for pregnancy-related expenses. And the woman in this case said she decided to become a surrogate to help others. And she said she was inundated with dozens of requests for surrogacy after she announced her intentions. She added that she chose the gay couple after much consideration and after the woman told the partners about possible birth defects, which were again, cleft palate, cleft lip, and a possible minor heart defect. The couple said in a letter that they wanted their surrogate to kill the child. Quote, "Considering that medical tests indicate that the fetus has or is likely to have a genetic, chromosomal, or other abnormality or defect and in accordance with Article 8.5a of our surrogacy agreement, we want to inform you of our wishes that the pregnancy be terminated," unquote. That's what the gay couple reportedly said. Also saying, although very difficult, this decision is free and informed. So the request left the woman feeling devastated, of course, and a mess is how she called it. She ended up delivering a baby boy through an at-home birth, which further upset the gay couple, who reportedly wanted the baby delivered in a hospital because of the suspected birth defects. And the at-home birth was agreed upon in their original surrogacy plan, though. Surrogacy has become increasingly controversial, with critics arguing that the process turns motherhood into a transaction and preys on the poor and treats a child like a product. And pro-life activist Leela Rose posted about the lawsuit on Tuesday, writing, quote, "A same-sex couple is using their surrogate for $600,000 after she refused is suing them for the $600,000 after she refused to abort their baby at 22 weeks in Canada. 22 weeks. I mean, basically, the thing could just about be born. The baby could just about be born, and still live no problem at that point. Scans indicated the child had a cleft lip and a possible artifact, and the little boy was born healthy, by the way. The child is alive today, not because of the men who purchased his life, but because the woman who carried him in her womb protected him. And children are not commodities, is what Rose added. And she wants, of course, to ban surrogacy now. Now, the gay couple declined to comment on the matter, of course, and so shocker, right? But hey, good for the mother, and the fact that she did not go through with that abortion, and we're gonna follow and see if she does come out on top when it comes to the lawsuits. Well, Mom Downey over in New York City is pulling a fast one. The fire department of New York City believes the fire that burned a Brooklyn church built in 1853 was intentionally set, and New York City officials began the demolition of the building on Tuesday, despite the congregation's objections. Yeah, after flames engulfed the South Brunswick Reformed Church, it's an active congregation, on June 19th, church engineers said that the building required only a partial demolition. But the New York City Department of Buildings pushed for a full demolition, originally scheduling it for August. But that was too far away. Now the Department of Buildings, headed by Ahmad Tingnangi, who is a practicing Muslim, is demolishing the historic building this week. Yeah, that's according to the Brownstoner. Now, during a Zoom meeting on Monday, which included representatives from the Department of Buildings, the church, and others, the city said demolition would begin this week, and city officials have maintained that the church's engineers never provided a plan to safely stabilize the structure. That would allow a partial demolition instead of the full teardown. Now, Dina Alfano of the Brunswick Historic Preservation Association, who has worked with the church to save the historic landmark, said the new deadline is impossible to meet. Oh, well, that's the point, isn't it? Quote, that left us basically less than half a day to try to get a team in there to get them the remaining information they needed. The long and the short of it is that it just wasn't possible with the time restraints to get them what they wanted. So yeah, the pastor made a statement. Pastor James Stewart lamented there. He said it is with extremely heavy hearts that the South Brunswick Church reports, despite its best efforts, we have been informed that the demolition of the remaining structure at 855 Brunswick will commence tomorrow. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Obviously, there's more to that. The fact that this is a Christian church, and Mamdani, being Muslim, the buildings guy is Muslim. That probably has something to do with it. I mean, obviously it's speculation, but I can't imagine why you'd have a church that was that was partially burned. It was deemed that had to be partially demolished, and it was an arson. And now they're going to tear the whole thing down. Built in 1853. But anyway, moving on, we have some spies in our trash. Yeah. The city of Sacramento is sending government employees to snoop on residents' garbage bins. Yeah, that's what they're doing. The city claims the new measure is an effort to comply with the Newsom-backed law, SB 1383, which passed in 2016 to reduce organic waste disposal and slow the efforts of climate change, according to KCRA 3. That's a news agency there. City workers in high visibility vests, as they call them, will now be seen patrolling neighborhoods, peering into residents' waste, taking photos of their trash contents, and rating their compliance with state recycling standards for proper waste disposal. Quote, any container that we touch will either get a great job tag or a let's sort this out tag. City Representative Lessa David said that, but either way, we want to provide education and make sure everyone knows the resources that they have available to sort their waste correctly. Sacramento Waste Disposal Services services about 130,000 customers, and nearly 5,000 households will be affected by these trash examiners. The inspections will continue throughout September. And when you sort your trash incorrectly, it does cost us more to dispose of it, said David. I don't know why that would be the case, because basically your recycling goes to the dump anyway. I mean, China's not buying it anymore or anything. So Sacramento claims that no punishments will be instituted at this time. However, other California cities, such as Circus Heights, are hitting repeated trash offenders with fines already. Critics on social media mocked the proposal, calling the measure peak totalitarianism and a wasteful use of money that should be directed toward addressing crime and cleaning the streets, not cleaning the garbage cans. It's just a matter of time until they install flock cameras inside your trash can, one person said on social media. Quote, they demand proof of trash being disposed of in designated trash containers, yet they refuse to accept proof of voter ID. And this is absurd. The Environmental Protection Agency reports that wasted food causes, as they put it, 58% of the fugitive methane emissions from municipal solid waste landfills, prompting California legislators to pass the legislation. So, yeah, it's sad. We actually in Washington here, we had some guys go through our recycling as well and leave a nasty little note. But anyway, it's only happened once. We haven't received any fines, so it's not happening just in California. But another, and I guess this is in celebrity news, Bonnie Tyler, if that name sounds familiar. She's famed for singing the song Total Eclipse of the Heart. And a few others. Well, she died at 75. So, yeah, Bonnie Tyler, the smoky-voiced Welsh belter, who turned heartbreak into arena-sized bombast with Total Eclipse of the Heart. Well, she died Wednesday in a Portuguese hospital. The singer, born in Gaynor Hopkins in the coal mining village of Swinwen, Wales, had been battling an illness and passed away in Faro, where she made her home for decades. Her family confirmed this on Facebook, and her road to that final night was tough. Back in May, Tyler underwent surgery, emergency surgery, on a perforated intestine and was placed in an induced coma and spent weeks fighting for her life in intensive care before doctors believed she was turning a corner. Tyler's raspy whiskey and cigarettes voice, as they like to call it, was the product of throat surgery, actually, that she had in 1977 to remove vocal nodes. and it became one of the pop's most distinctive instruments. And she leaned into it hard, saying, quote, "I can't help it if I've got a husky voice." She once shot back this at critics who compared her to Rod Stewart. Nah, that's not nice. The voice found its perfect vehicle in 1983, Total Eclipse of the Heart. It was a Jim Stein penned monster originally deemed for a certain musical song, and the song was practically destined for Meatloaf until he lost his voice during recording, and Tyler swooped in. So the track shot to number one, sold millions, and hasn't left the culture since. It's still racking up a lot of karaoke nights and eclipse season streaming spikes more than 4 decades later. After it was a hit, she remembered Meatloaf always used to say, "Dang, that song should have been mine." And she told that to the Telegraph last year. Quote, "How can you ever possibly imagine it would still be so big today, and people who weren't ever born then would be singing it in karaoke?" Tyler followed up with the "Holding Out for a Hero." So you probably know her with that one as well. That was a pop banger that soundtracked Footloose and blared out the gym of movie screens throughout the 80s. She racked up 3 Grammy nominations along the way, though she never actually took one home. The daughter of a coal miner and one of 6 kids, Tyler credited her mother with installing the grit that carried her out of Wales and onto the world stage, once recalling her mom's blunt advice: "Believe in yourself, because nobody else will do it for you." She went on to represent the United Kingdom at Eurovision in 2013, releasing more than a dozen albums across her career. Her last, In Berlin, dropped in 2024 and was honored with the Order of the British Empire in 2022 for her contributions to music. Tyler is survived by her husband, Robert Sullivan, who is Sullivan is a former Olympic judo competitor turned property developer, and they got married back in 1973. And so, yeah, there's a lot of survivors and things there. And she, again, it's where you get into that point where a lot of these pop artists from the 80s and things like that, 70s, 80s, and even into the early 90s are getting up there in age, and they're starting to pass away. But well, I wanted to leave you today with something that I thought was really, really moving, and I thought it was very poignant, very good advice. Last week, Christian apologist and Boston College professor, Dr. Peter Kreeft, he's 89, believe it or not, gave just heartbreakingly beautiful marriage advice in the wake of the passing of his wife, Maria. Kreeft, who was married for 63 years, told the Daily Wire's Pints and Acquaintance host Matt Fraud that someone should only get married if he loves the other person's soul, describing his last view of his wife and how he fell in love with her again in that moment. And his wife died back in May, and I wanted to play you just the clip here of that interview.
What advice? I know I've asked this, but I want to take another swing at it, give you another opportunity. What advice do you have someone watching this who's newly married or who is about to be?
Do you think that when you are very old and your wife is very old and ugly and wrinkled and fat and not very bright or even nasty, that you will still find her beautiful? If so, marry her. The last view I had of my wife in the nursing home, about an hour after she died, I fell in love with her again. Here is a wasted, emaciated, wrinkled, suffering body. It's as beautiful as a crucifix. Because that body ain't going to last, but the soul is. So if you don't love her soul, but just love her body, don't get married.
Yeah, I don't know what to follow up that with, so I will just say thank you for listening. This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.